Good afternoon. Welcome back to Oneida Live in Oneida, Wisconsin. Today is Thursday, February 12th, and I'm Bobby Webster. I'm the PR director for the Oneida Nation. Today we have with us the Director of Environmental, uh, Land, and Agriculture. I had to think of all the areas that he's over. Eric McGlester. And Eric has a pretty broad spectrum of programs and initiatives that he oversees as the director of that department. So we're going to go over a little bit about what's happening in all of the areas and how they kind of all click together. A little update on some of the things that are going on in environmental, land, and agriculture. Does that
All
cover
right.
it all?
That covers it all.
All right, thanks. Go ahead, Eric.
Thanks, Bobby. Um, well, first, the cannery and the orchard would be very upset with me if I didn't announce that they're having their big Valentine's event today. It started at 10. It's going to run till 5:30, so I'm hoping everyone can get over there and get out. And this is a collaboration between the cannery and the orchard. Both of them are going to be selling their products there. The cannery is going to be having some corn soup, so make sure you get there if you're hungry for lunch or dinner. And they're going to have some sweet treats, and they're going to have some Valentine's packages that you can get for Valentine's Day. So please stop over there if you can. Just carrying on with the orchard, we're going to be getting about 700 new dwarf apple trees this year, and there's just a variety of different types of trees that we'll be bringing in and planting at the orchard this year. And this is to replace a lot of the old and mature trees that are just not producing like they should. So we're moving in the direction from the larger full-size trees to more of these dwarf trees. So that's going to be a huge addition to the orchard, and they'll be producing in 2 to 3 years. So we're happy about that. And also we're still committed and following through with our focus on regenerative ag practices at the orchard, which means we don't use any conventional pesticides or fungicides. Only organic fertilizer and mineral supplements are being used at the orchard. And this will be our 3rd year following these practices. And the reason for that is to provide a healthy product to the community. We want to make sure that what we're providing is healthy and not loaded with chemicals. So that's the focus, and that's why we're going in that direction. The yields have been down. They came back much better last year, and we're hoping that the yield this year will be much higher again from what we were able to harvest last year. Along that same line with going pesticide free, one of our natural pesticides is we have been raising chickens at the orchard to take care of bugs in the orchard. This provides hundreds of eggs every week. We're going to be getting in 200 chickens here in just the near future, and again, that serves 2 purposes. Provides eggs for the food pantry, and it also controls all the pests and bugs that we experience in the orchard. And then at the end of the season in the fall, we'll harvest those chickens, and all that meat will end up being provided to the food pantry. So it's a win-win all the way around, and it's a great alternative to any kind of a chemical use.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I was here, I talked about the new orchard retail store. We're right in the final design of that. When I spoke last year about that, the plan was to put the orchard store across the highway, and that's changed after much deliberation and conversations. We just feel it would be best and safer for our employees and for our customers to move that retail store on the north side of Highway 54. So on Overland, I'm not sure if everyone's aware, but there's a back driveway that goes into the orchard. That will become the new main entrance to the retail store. So we're hoping to break ground in early spring or late spring, early summer on the construction of the new orchard, and hopefully have it completed by late fall, early winter, and we'll be in that new retail orchard store.
Will it be a pole building similar to what's there now, or will it be more bricks and mortar?
It'll be a pole building. It'll probably double the size of what it currently is. All our grading equipment and apple production will happen there in the new store, but we'll also be able to, create our own cider, produce our own cider. Another focus of the orchard is not just on apples. They've really expanded into more fruits and vegetables. We've been producing, they've got a hoop house there, and they produced a lot of vegetables last year. We've got a really expanded strawberry patch, berry patch, and we're looking to really produce a lot more food, not just apples anymore. Along that same line, the orchard and Junhinqua, we're combining a lot of those same resources, and that's one of the things that's going to happen in the near future, or it's in the works right now, is Junhinqua really is going to be absorbed into the orchard. So it'll become the Oneida Orchard Farm. And again, with the broader focus on growing food for the community, not just apples anymore. And just along that same line, with the orchard, with Junhinqua being absorbed into the orchard will fall underneath the Oneida Nation Farm. So we're going to really create one streamlined flow of egg into one whole area, and you'll see in the near future we're also going to separate the food area into its own area. So we are looking at a new reorg of the area, and we'll have that new structure presented, relatively soon here.
And the cannery is still underway, and
Cannery is still underway, and that's another update I wanted to go into. But first, let me talk about the Oneida Nation Farm. Like I said, the orchard will be reporting, the Oneida Orchard Farm will be reporting to the Oneida Nation Farm. And the farm, continues to do what it does best. They're growing beef, they're growing buffalo. We've got 475 head of beef and 185 head of buffalo. We were fortunate last year to be able to expand pastures. For the beef, we expanded it by 50 acres. This year, we've got funding to expand the buffalo pasture by 150 acres. And both of those expansions will allow us to grow the herd, both the beef herd and the buffalo herd. Our demand, we can't keep up with our demand. We're always running short. We can't meet what the requests are, and we have to turn down a lot of requests because we just don't have this capacity. So this will allow us to grow the herd, both herds, and hopefully meet more of the
it's growing because it's a healthier option as well.
Yeah,
Much healthier.
Definitely a healthier option. 90% of it, is all grass-fed. They supplement it with some oats, some grains, but for the most part, it's all grass-fed. For sure, with grass-fed with the buffalo, but even with the beef, a very, very small amount of it is supplemented with grains. So that's gonna happen. We're gonna expand both of them, meet more production, meet more capacity, and then with the cannery. The other thing with the farm that I certainly don't want to forget this is, the huge harvest that we had this past year. We were very fortunate. The Oneida Nation Farm planted 9 acres of Oneida white corn. They did that last year on 3 acres, and we got about 2,000 pounds of white corn last year. This year, with planting a larger field, 9 acres, we were able to harvest, just over 20,000 pounds of white corn this year. So, our need for feed the community has been requested from the cannery is about 10,000 pounds a year is what our goal is, and what we know the community needs to meet all the both retail and community functions. All the demand is about 10,000 pounds. So last year, hitting that goal of 20,000 pounds really has provided, a supply that is going to carry us forward. I know you were asking about white corn in retail. Beginning tomorrow, we will be able to meet all our white corn requests. The Conestoga, the dehydrated corn, the corn mush flour, the Conestoga flour, and all-purpose flour, all will be coming out
Back in the one-stops?
back in the one stop.
All right. People have been waiting.
54 and Larson Road will be fully supplied with all
All right.
corn products. So that's exciting. We haven't been able to do that, for quite some time. And what supply we had, has always been limited. Like I say, last year, 2,000 pounds. Year before that, similar, 2,500 pounds. It goes fast. The demand is definitely there, and it's always growing. So that's a good thing. You mentioned the cannery. That's going great. I don't know if people have seen it, but in Water Circle Place, the cannery is going up. It's an 11,000 square foot building, which is probably 10,900 square feet more than what they have. Right now they're in the basement here. Very, very small footprint. This will give them, just a lot more
Very
space,
small.
a lot more capacity. Again, being able to meet community demands, production of white corn and other products, cannery products that they'll be able to do in this new facility. And some features that this new cannery will have is they'll have 2 incubator kitchens that are being built right into the building there. So these incubator kitchens will be a fully functional commercial kitchen where we can do demonstrations, we can do workshops. It's going to be an area where community members can come, book time in there. They'll have the full option of cannery equipment that they can use to do their own canning, food prep, whatever it is that they need a kitchen for. That's what the purpose of those 2 incubator
So I can bring all
kitchens
my
are.
corn in there and
Bring
they'll
all your
run
corn.
it through for me and help me process it in the big vats and things like that rather than messing up my kitchen.
Yep, you can do that. Or you can do it yourself. I mean, the kitchens are self-contained, so you'll be able to do that yourself, but the cannery staff are certainly available to help any community member processing
Awesome.
whatever their vegetables or fruit are. The food pantry and food distribution, that's a recent acquisition, I guess, into this division. They came over in October, and going great, working out really well. Just yesterday, they had a cooking with traditional food class at the Turtle School. That was with the language and culture class there, and they had 23 participants that made corn soup and protein balls. They use most of the ingredients that families would get when they come to the food pantry or food distribution. Again, showing them how to use products that they're receiving or what's available to them. Another thing that I just wanted to recognize and thank everyone that helped out on January 30th, the staff and the volunteers that came out. We had, below zero weather there on that Friday,
right.
and just a whole lot of support and volunteers, that braved the cold and came out and helped with that
Elder food boxes. Yeah, I
distribution.
did. I did go over there
It was a great success.
and check it out, and they were moving fast, and there was a lot of people there.
Yeah, it was.
And it was 8
worked out
o'clock
great.
in the morning, so it's a little colder than normally when they, distribute at 10. But
And
they
of course,
did do a
in the
fabulous
shade
job.
of the building too, so you couldn't even be in the sunlight when they started. Yeah, that went over really well. I mean, it was cold, but everyone was grateful. Really, really successful, and again, great turnout from the volunteers that always assist with that. I did want to touch on land management. I know land management wanted me to go over the land use license process, and that's a cumbersome process, but it's needed and it's necessary for every event that people want to hold. So I think I would reserve that to have somebody from land come in and explain that process, because I probably couldn't do it justice. But it is a collaboration of multiple departments to make sure that any event you're planning, any event that the community is going to be having, we've got the right people at the table to look at that plan and say, okay, is it going to be safe? How do we manage all the potential risk with that event? And like I said, it can be a cumbersome process, but if you start early enough, you plan for that. It's very easy to get it through if you have enough time. It's when things happen.
Pre-planning.
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 Exactly.
I know we've done it for lighting the bridge, and
yes.
thank God for Diane Wilson, who has been a wealth of information and support to make sure that we have the identifying the land, a map of it, informing the police department in case there's an having healthcare facilities or officials there for emergencies. If you're serving food, they have to be licensed personnel.
Sanitarian, yep.
If you're having a crowd there, you've got to make sure there's a way to communicate. If somebody's lost, how to find a lost child, things. And it is a very cumbersome but necessary, for the safety
Yeah.
and the well-being of everybody who's attending the event.
Yeah, and Diane definitely is the resource with all the answers. And like I say, maybe it'd be best to have her come on and talk about not only
love
that,
to have her.
But also, she handles all the right-of-ways, all the easements, and she's, again, just got a ton of knowledge on handling all those land issues.
Anything to do with land.
Yeah.
She is.
But on top of that, land, their main function, is buying back land within reservation boundaries, and they've done a great job. They continue to be aggressive about going out there and acquiring more land. It's been interesting to watch, and it's been fun to be a part of seeing staff go out there and negotiate and try and get as much land as possible. So really happy with all the efforts.
What percentage of our original reservation do we have right now? Do you know?
It's just over, not 46, but it's about 45% of the reservation.
Almost half.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get to that to be a goal and a milestone that we recognize when we get to 50%.
50%.
Yeah.
Well, let us know.
It won't be.
We'll help
it won't
you
be long.
celebrate.
It won't be long. Hopefully, the next couple of months, maybe in a year or two, we can get there.
All right.
And just land wanted me to also make sure that I mentioned that land office is there to help individual trust landowners if they ever needed assistance, because you have individual trust land follows a different process, and it has to be worked through the BIA, and land staff are there to help and assist with any questions or assistance processing anything through the BIA. And those are typically if you have a restricted deed, joint tenancy, selling property that's in individual trust status, those are things that they can help with.
Building homes, there's a certain process, I
There's a
think,
certain
for
process. If it's on
registering
individual
through the
trust land.
bureau, so you
Yeah.
have to go through the bureau.
Yep.
Yeah.
Conservation, I wanted to touch on some of the things that the conservation crew is working on. Of course, every day they're working on tree removal, hazard tree removal, and providing firewood for the elders, but they also do a lot of other projects, trail maintenance, collaborations with other departments. And one recent one last week, the week before, part of this week, was cleaning up invasive species and scrub, brush, and some dead and dying trees along the bridge down the hill.
Highway 54?
Yep, along 54 there. If you look, as you're coming into Oneida on the east side or right side of the highway, you'll see where it's been cleaned out, and it'll just make for a really nice park-like setting, going forward, as it's being maintained, it's easy to maintain now that it's been cleared out and all the problem plants have been removed. It'll be so much easier to maintain it, and it'll just create an even more inviting environment as you come into Oneida. Another thing that they're working on that is part of what they're trying to accomplish this winter into spring is the docks down at the Oneida Lake. We've had floating docks down there that create problems based on the different water level. And sometimes we haven't even been able to put the docks back in because of the water levels being so low. We're going to just make the docks permanent, put them in permanently so that no matter the water level, you'll still be able to go out onto the docks and fish.
Is that
or boat
affected
or whatever.
if there's a freeze and the ice?
Not
on
when they're
those?
permanent.
Okay.
When they were floating, we had to remove them every fall, put them back in the spring, and then based on water level, it was challenging getting them back in. This will, because there'll be pylons set right down into the lake bottom, ice won't bother them. They'll be permanent, and nothing will, push them around or move them once they're permanent like that. So that's something that they're hoping to have done, but it will limit access for 3 to 4 weeks when this is going on. And then another project that you might see conservation crew and other members of this division of environmental land and ag working on is the posting of signs around the reservation. They try to put those in the winter when they can get on frozen ground, get out to these different areas. So the tribal land, the hunting, no hunting, the buffers, natural areas, all those signs are going up over the next couple of weeks. And you'll see those signs posted around here where there probably hasn't been signs for quite a while. So that's another project that they've been busy working on. And environmental has, again, I mentioned that they were a part of that clearing of those invasive species down by the bridge. And again, a lot of collaboration with other departments within the tribe, not just in the division, but whenever possible with other areas of the tribe, we try and collaborate with together on. But just some of the projects they're working on, there's 40 acres of prairie and medicine plants that were planted this past fall that'll be coming up this spring along the Trout Creek headwaters. And then they'll be installing some duck nesting tubes over the next couple of weeks as we go into spring.
Duck nesting tubes?
Duck nesting tube, yeah. It'll be a nesting area for ducks.
Oh.
Different types of ducks like different types of nesting. So this will cater to certain species of ducks. Out at the headwaters on Olson Reformatory and Cooper Road right now, a lot of activity with deer movements, owls, raptors are moving through there right now. So great place to go bird watching, animal watching out there.
That's
at
towards the old
headwaters.
reformatory, that
Yeah.
end of the reservation?
Yep.
to
We
know.
will be doing like we always do, we will be stocking some rainbow trout at Onusla Lake. That'll be coming up this spring. And then one thing that they participated in was last week at the Health and Wellness Expo, they gave out 107 pollinator seed mix packets, which was just a seed packet of various seeds that if you plant, it's enough to plant 100 square feet of a garden or flower bed. But that was handed out last week as part of the environmental's assistance with that Health and Wellness Expo. Also, there's a program that it's part of the WPP program, the Wisconsin Partnership Program, and it's recently changed its name to Mending the Disconnect with Food. And just to touch on what that program is about, I just want to kind of go over with that name, how that came about and how it evolved into this new title. This grant was meant to do, what the grant was meant to do was gather information about food sovereignty and what those food sovereignty needs are, And then based on feedback from community surveys from over 200 responses, they began looking at, and also from looking at the barriers to healthy lifestyles, the focus has really narrowed to getting people back to the foundational principles of what has been lost, throughout time, throughout the community. So when you think about the disconnect with food, mending the disconnect with food, that portion of it is the disconnect with food is that movement away from traditional foods, eating more processed food, eating more fast foods, not preparing foods as a family or not sitting down as a family and having meals together, not growing your own food. And again, that movement away foods that we as Oneida people always made a part of our diet. So looking at that disconnect, the mending of that disconnect is going back to some of those things that have been lost, going back to growing and eating and preserving traditional
the core
foods.
principles.
Yeah, eating a healthier whole food product instead of processed food. Again, going back to growing your own food, knowing where your food comes from, even food prep and eating as a family. How do we get families back to doing that? So that's some of the focus of what they're trying to do with this new retitling of this program. And one of the really successful part of this program has been growing community gardens. They've got a community gardening group that's last year went out and learned about growing, seed preparation, garden preparation, maintaining a garden, harvesting, preparing, preserving, learning those skills of how to, again, grow your own food and growing healthier food and how to prepare it and not just grow Oneida white corn, but then how to process.
Right.
How do you change that or process it into the final product? So that's been a long path of creating that for community members. And some of the things as part of that is they've partnered just, for this month now, they're partnering with the cannery to offer a 3-part series on how to process white corn and how to prepare it. So Tuesday, they went through the process of cleaning, shelling and winnowing and cleaning white corn, getting it ready to be processed. They have another class that's coming up on, the second part of that will be making it dehydrated corn and corn mush. And then the third class will be making corn soup and ganastoha. So those are all classes that are coming up for that community gardening group. And then just on top of the mending the disconnect food, those programs, they also offer other mending the disconnect foods. One of them is, or a series of classes is Food as Medicine workshops. And one of the classes that is part of that is the, and this is an upcoming on February 19th, and that's a Food of the Forest, Food of the Forest workshop that is happening on that day. And this will be an opportunity for community members to learn about food forest, tasting native fruits and nuts, and how to gather and how to
What's
prepare.
out there naturally.
Yeah, yep.
That's awesome.
And that's
Wow, that's
my
amazing,
highlights.
Eric. Everything. I mean, you gave us a snippet of
Yes.
this huge division that is doing so much to
did not do it
sustain
service.
Oneida.
I did not do it service. I mean,
Well, we'll
the
have some of those
staff.
directors back in. We'd
Yeah,
love to have them come in. We do have some questions. We got people who are watching from Indianapolis. They're from Oklahoma. Our Oneidas watch from all over the country. And some of the questions are, one is, do we have any online stores?
Not at this time. I do believe that retail had considered doing that. I don't know if they ever did. That would be a question for retail.
Not yet. I know there's been almost every time we have somebody here talking about Oneida products, art, jewelry, crafts, traditional things that are for sale, our foods. We always get questions about online. So there's certainly an interest in it. And like I said, we have Oneidas that are in Oklahoma and Indianapolis and
I would
Arizona
hope
and all over.
When we get the cannery open, the new cannery open, I would hope that we would have the capabilities of doing an online
Corn,
sale.
to say the least.
Yes, for sure,
right.
corn.
Also, what about the teas? Are you familiar with some of the herbal teas that are available at Junhenqua?
Yes, I mentioned that we're going to be blending the Junhenqua with the orchard, but we're still going to grow at Junhenqua, at that farm. We're still going to gather number 6. We're still going to grow tobacco. We still are going to have a Three Sisters garden. The focus of that farm will be on growing seed corn for the larger operations. So it's still going to be an active farm, and we're going to still be growing products there. We're still going to do our seed and plant, every spring. But yeah, that will be one place where we will continue to gather medicines and teas.
And then we have, as you mentioned, chickens. We kind of run through the mill and then harvest the chickens and the beef and the bison. What about pigs? Is there any plan or initiative to raise pork?
At this point, there has been no plans to expand any livestock beyond just the beef and buffalo and the chickens. But that's certainly a possibility for the future.
All right, then there's a question, what are we doing about all the runoff from farmers throughout the reservation into Duck Creek? How is that being monitored? And I remember probably back in 1975, the Shoreland Ordinance is when the tribe first exercised our authority and sovereignty to stop the farms from having all that runoff into Duck Creek.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure any situation right now, but is there any update you have on that?
Yeah, for sure. That's something we always monitor. Any type of manure spills or any type of runoff or erosion that's creating problems. We monitor water quality. We know from 2000 till now the improvement in water quality. We do have some information out there. It's probably online from our environmental department video that documents the history of how we've improved water quality over time. Just last summer, and then again just this past Monday, or 2 weeks ago, Monday, Land Commission approved the new agricultural leasing rule, and in there we've increased the buffer. In the past, it was a 35-foot buffer from any waterway. We've increased that now to 50 feet on either side of a waterway, and larger and more highly erodible lands. We can increase that buffer size. So we've expanded it to more than Duck Creek, and we've expanded it to ditches, and any waterways on the reservation have now a designated increased size of the buffer, so that we reduce any type of runoff, any type of chemical runoff into the streams.
Do you have any idea how often the waters are tested?
I know it's annually,
For sure,
seasonally.
annually.
The water's being tested, but I couldn't tell you how many times a year it is tested.
Okay. Well, it looks like we covered all the questions, Eric. I think you could be here all afternoon, but we will let you go. We have just a few announcements. Just want to let people know that tomorrow at the Oneida Nation Elementary School there is a round dance, and it's going to begin with a meal at 5 p.m. and they'll be able to round dance, social dance, and have fun until midnight. And that's at the Oneida Turtle School. There's a number of activities that are associated with it, including some contests and sweetheart dances, etc. Also, the day after, on Saturday, the Midwinter Gathering Powwow is at the Oneida Hotel. There is a grand entry at 1 o'clock and again at 7 o'clock. There'll be social dancing during the dinner break. There will be specials, and both of these events are free. Finally, we just want to let people know that on April 1st, the Oneida Enrollment Office will be going cashless. So there will be no exceptions. The only acceptance forms of payment will be debit and credit cards, retail gift cards, checks, and money orders and cashier's checks only. So that will begin on April 1st. And is there anything we forgot that you'd like to add?
Just want to reemphasize, get to the orchard today before 5:30 and get your Valentine's Day gifts.
Yep, go get them. All right. Well, appreciate you. And every time you come, there's a wealth of information that you share with us. So we're going
My
to
pleasure.
ask you to send some of your directors over here, maybe.
I will.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Nungiwa.
Thank you.